Welcome back, everyone, to episode 353 and another episode of ROADIUM Radio. It's been a minute. I shouldn't have left you. But anyways, listen, I want to thank everybody who has been faithful to the podcast. A lot of you guys have DM'd me. A lot of you guys have inboxed me, emailed me, and even left comments on the community on YouTube. So we're back, and I wasn't going to come back, but you know who actually inspired me, and I want to give him a shout out, is Tony G. I've been working a lot with Tony G, and Tony G told me pretty much in so many words, keep it pushing, keep it going. So here we are. I don't know for how much longer, but for me, I was ready to throw in the towel after 5 years. But you know what? After meeting this legend, I figured that he had to be my number one comeback. So with this one, hopefully we're going to knock it out the ballpark. I met this person out in Jersey when I was out there, and I was introduced to him, and I'm going to give a shout out to him because I know he's watching right now. My brother Toro Zano from Harlem. DJ Toro, much love and respect to you. Thank you for tuning in. I know it's 10 o'clock over there, 7 o'clock over here, so much love and respect to you. So everybody, please help me welcome East Coast legendary B-boy, the one and only Crazy Legs. Let's give him a round of applause, everybody. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, bro. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it, and definitely let me second that on DJ Thorough. That's one of the coolest, nicest people I've ever met. His whole demeanor is dope, and I got a lot of respect for that, brother. That's
dope, man. You know what? I want to tell you something. When he told me, and I know I mentioned this to you, we were talking about documentaries, and I was talking about one that I saw in 1983 out here. It was called Breaking and Entering. Okay.
Michael DeLorenzo's in there.
Yes. Yeah. Had Boogler Shrimp, Pop and Taco. Yep. It also had Egyptian Lover, Chris the Glove Taylor, etc. So we were debating on what came out first, Style Wars, Wild Style. Ooh. Okay. And he goes, bro, it was Style Wars and Wild Style, 1983. And I go, well, that one came out in 1983 too. And he goes, you want me to call Crazy Legs? And I was like, bro, I was like geeked out. And then it was funny because even my son noticed that when I was walking up to you, I almost tripped, bro.
Oh, shit.
And I don't get geeked out, bro, for a lot of artists. But I'll tell you what, I met Dr. Dre when he had nothing, and I think he was like 22 and I was like 18, and I was still geeked out, bro, because that's Dr. Dre to me, But it's truly an honor and a pleasure, bro. I'm glad we got to exchange numbers. I'm glad we got to talk. And then you told me you were going to be in LA, and I just figured, you know what? Got to make it happen, bro.
I'm happy to be here, bro.
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
Pleasure.
Longtime fan. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. For people that may not know exactly who Crazy Legs is out here, possibly on the West Coast, who do not know anything about the B-boy movement, who is Crazy Legs, and where originally are you from? Like, where did you grow up at?
I grew up in the Bronx, and it's interesting because for me, when I started being involved with the whole hip-hop scene, you weren't necessarily identified as just, we also didn't call it hip-hop at that time. Okay. Hip-hop was just a word of action, like, yes, y'all, to the beat, y'all, rock, y'all, hip-hop, y'all, and don't stop. It was just a random word of like, let's party, y'all. Right. And I didn't, as much as I knew I was a B-boy. When I became a B-boy, I was also a graffiti writer. I wanted to, try to learn how to DJ. Everyone was trying to do everything back then. And I think a lot of us who tried, and this is in the 70s, yes, who tried all these different things, we tried them not knowing that we were eventually going to figure out what we were good at and then stick with that. Right. And I became that dude who got into the game kind of, I don't want to say late because there wasn't much of a history of hip-hop at that point. Yes. But compared to the B-boys and B-girls that I knew, mostly B-boys, there wasn't much, I would say, time that I was able to enjoy with a lot of them because they were also kind of on the tail end of their so-called B-boy careers. Yes. You figure, most people back then danced for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and were done after that. Oh, okay. So, because you figure you're getting older, and a lot of those people were older than me, and if I was 10, and some of them were like 3 years older than me, 13, by the time you're 15, 16, you're already retired as a B-boy. Okay. Because you're going, going to high school, you're meeting girls, you're not trying to get your clothes dirty on the floor,
Right.
all that stuff. So it was interesting because I got real hungry to battle. I'm like, yo, I'm just getting better. I'm making some of my own moves up. And I was looking for people to battle, just to test out my skills on. And so I would just run around the city. If I heard about you, I would definitely put myself in a lot of danger because I was walking into all kinds of neighborhoods and not knowing what could happen to me.
Yeah.
It was a different time back then. But if I heard about you and you hung out in front of a certain building, certain days of the week, I knew where to find you because everyone said you would be there. Or if I heard that, oh, wow, there's going to be a quinceañera and all those people are going to be there, we run up on the quinceañera or Sweet 16, whatever you want to call it. And I'd find you. I would find you and call you out. I wouldn't even know what you look like. I'd be like, hey, yo, you B-boy such and such? Yeah, blah, blah. Like, yo, you break? Yeah. You want to battle? Boom, we go right here. Concrete, outside in the street, whatever it is.
Right.
And we handle it right there. And in some of those situations were, dangerous situations. You got to remember how young I was.
Yeah.
Super, super young. And I wasn't the thugged out dude, although we did a lot of things. It was more of a born into survival kind of mode, and you adapt to your environment and you become your environment, because if you don't, that's a problem.
Yes, it is.
You're the victim otherwise.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, growing up in, you said the Bronx, okay? Did you come from a big family, a lot of brothers, a lot of sisters?
I'm Puerto Rican, man, Latino. 5 boys, 1 girl.
Okay, 5 boys, 1 girl. Now, where are you at? You the oldest, the youngest, the middle?
I share the middle. So I'm on the, I have 3 older brothers.
Okay.
And then a younger sister and a younger brother.
Okay, see, I'm a lot like you. I'm one of 10 kids. I'm the number 7 kid. So I got 5 brothers, 4 sisters, and I grew up in a big family. Now, I'm curious, what type of music did your family play when you were growing up?
Oh, wow.
Like elementary school, what do you remember hearing at home?
Oh, yeah, no, so Joe Cuba.
Okay.
Man, from Barry White to Joe Cuba to Gran Combo, Find Your All-Stars, to Donna Summer, Johnny Mathis, Barry White, Dionne Warwick, Celia Cruz, Tito Puente, which all falls into Fania and Gran Combo and all that.
Right.
But, I grew up, my 3 older brothers were DJs.
Okay.
So I was also hearing disco and funk.
Oh,
soul.
Okay.
I heard all of that. And, when it came to also the slow jams, I loved my slow jams.
Okay.
Loved my slow jams back then.
Who was I'm curious, who were some of your favorite slow jams that you would bump?
Stylistics.
Okay.
Delphonics.
Of course.
Then you had then you had other people who are like one-hit wonders, like Norman Connors, who did a song called Starship.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of albums back then, they had their slow jam cuts. So if you had Earth, Wind, and Fire, you knew there was a cut on there that was
Absolutely.
a slow jam. So a lot of artists had slow jam cuts on there.
Awesome. Now, if you can walk us through, okay, maybe you'll understand the question.
Oh, wait, just one thing.
Yes,
hey, I don't sniff blow, man. I'm getting over a cold, all right? So if you hear me sniffing, man,
There you go. Okay, just so you could understand how we heard the breaking. First, it was locking and popping out here. Okay, growing up as a kid, I didn't see breaking until I was in 7th grade. So I was about 12 years old.
What year was that?
Oh, man. I don't remember, but I was going to Wilmington Junior High School.
I'm going to guess it was maybe 83. Early 82.
It had to
late
be.
82, early 83.
Yeah, it had to have been. And that's when I first saw footwork.
Okay.
Okay. Guys, doing footwork. And then the next move I saw was the kickworm. Okay.
But that was more of a West Coast thing. That
Yes,
came,
it was.
That came from out here.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. So, but that's all I knew of breaking.
And
okay.
that's not even breaking. Kickworm is from popping and locking, boogaloo, all that. That had nothing to do with us. You understand? A lot of people who did anything popping and locking related, it was because we were watching Soul Train. So you had the Lockers and the Electric Boogaloos on there, Jeffrey Daniels, all those people, and a lot of people were imitating that. Even I remember one of my homegirls, Melody, she Latina girl, she would tell me she would not come out on a Saturday until after Soul Train was over.
Oh, wow.
Because she had to see if there were any new dance steps that she felt like she wanted to do. And then on the, even more on the Latino side, you have the girls who are more traditional Latina and they're watching Sábado Gigante,
okay,
these other shows to see maybe Iri Chacon.
Iri Chacon.
Oh, yeah. So there are a lot of those influences that I grew up with. And then you throw in there, my uncles and my father would have jam sessions at the house.
Oh, okay.
And play live instruments. So they would be imitating El Gran Combo, or performing their songs, and Joe Cuba. So it was, there were a lot of influences from different places in my life.
Okay.
But when it comes to the dance, I'm one of those people who understands there's no such thing as pop locking, because those are two different dances.
Correct.
Right. And I also, give respect where respect is due. I would easily say that we can look at all the dances that you could say are forms of hip hop after everything merged.
Yeah.
And easily say that popping and locking was way before breaking.
Okay. Now, once again, in 7th grade, I got introduced to breaking. I saw guys doing footwork, mostly just footwork, okay? Right. Now, that's the origins for me, or the genesis, if it were the beginning of breaking for me. What did you see that you said, I want to do that?
I went to I remember when I first saw it, and I was just embarrassed by what I saw. And that was my brother, who in Africa Islam, they were both part of a crew called the Organization.
Okay.
And I didn't know what breaking was. And one day, and just so you know, the Organization became Zulu Nation.
Okay.
And I saw them breaking in front of where we lived in the Bronx. And I'm looking at my brother, and there's no music, so I have no context. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
Africa Islam is the neighborhood track star, and then my brother is just a wild dude. And I'm looking at them, and I put my head down in shame. I'm like, damn, why is my brother embarrassing, shaming my family by throwing himself on the floor like that? And it was like really basic moves. A lot of, drop into a half split, or like real remedial kind of movements that had no real acrobatic element to it. And then there was, at the time, they didn't have a box, they didn't have no radio, nothing like that. So all you did was see what they were doing. And I was just like, what the fuck is this guy doing, man?
Right.
And I put my head down in shame, like, oh man. And then about a year later, my cousin, called him my cousin, not really my cousin, but I called him my cousin. We always called each other cousins. Lenny Len brought me to a park jam on 180th Street and Crotona Avenue in the Bronx. And that was where, like, I came to life. I always say I was born in 66, came to life in 77, because I was a real shy cat. But, I had things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a boxer. I wanted to be a baseball player. And when I saw everyone breaking, I saw people doing graffiti in the park, and it's not like it was organized like that. It was just hood shit.
Shit, yeah.
And DJ, there was a Puerto Rican DJ named Little Angel. So the first actual hip hop DJ I saw was Latino.
Wow.
Yeah, because I had no idea about. I had not experienced all these groups out there. I heard about them because of my cousin. He moved into this area. He's like, yo, Rich, you gotta come over. You gotta come to the jam. So he brings me to this jam. And I'm like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh shit, First of all, my gear was trash. because we were poor.
Of course.
You know, I'll never forget that my gear was trash, and I probably looked like a fucking herb. But again, I'm like 10, 11 years old. So
Okay.
so
What
it's
year would
okay.
you say this was?
That was 77.
77. Okay.
Yeah. Year of the blackout in New York, Son of Sam, all that shit.
Fuck.
Yeah. So I end up trying. It was the first time I came out of my shell, and I tried to dance that day because I had never danced in my life, and I tried to imitate what all these people were doing. And from that point on, my cousin started teaching me. And then 6 months later, because I was developing so fast, I had to start teaching them some of the stuff I was learning. So it came very natural to me. And I think when it came to our styles, I had more agility, flexibility, and I think I was trying to do more acrobatic stuff, or I was capable of doing more acrobatic stuff, which led to creating a lot of moves than my cousin. My cousin was like amazing footwork artist and stylistically incredible, especially for that time period.
Yeah.
But watching people at this one jam, it just blew my mind, and I just wanted to become a b-boy. But you know, again, no such thing as hip hop culture yet.
Right.
This is, you go to the jam.
Right.
And these things happen randomly, and I just fell in love with that whole scene.
Right. Okay. So now, I know out here in the West we say breaking started in New York. To be more specific, can you say that breaking started in the Bronx?
Absolutely.
Okay.
With ease.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I could leave room for error, but somebody's gonna have to prove me wrong, because most of the original b-boys or people who claim to be original b-boys are from the Bronx, and even with what would be considered an original b-boy, they didn't dance like we eventually danced. They were doing things like imitating James Brown.
Okay.
You know, drop to a half split, that kind of stuff that I saw my brother doing with Africa Islam.
Yeah.
But when it came to like the 6-step footwork or all these intricate combinations, I've only seen maybe 3 people. I could easily say I saw 3 people do anything close to what we were doing from, and I don't want to say a generation, because if you look at the definition of a generation, it's at least 10 years.
Yes.
And I started dancing in 77. And whoever was dancing before me was probably 73, 74, or maybe 74, 75.
Right.
Because and that's because we don't have any way of proving it.
Correct.
So what we did as Latinos when it came to breaking, we took it in a whole different direction. And that is what turned it into what it is today. And with all due respect to what came before us, because there's got to be a DNA somewhere.
Yes.
But our accomplishments led to what it is today. And those people that I'm talking about who I saw kind of looked like us was a dude named Beaver from Zulu Nation. Grand Mixer DST was a b-boy first.
Okay.
And then Phase 2, the graffiti artist. Mm-hmm. I saw him get down a little bit. You know, he was already older for that generation. So if he was like maybe 19, 20 when I met him, no way. He probably didn't dance for like 4 years.
Okay.
You know, so, and I would say the most advanced b-boy from that time that I ever saw was Grand Mixer DST.
Man, there's just so much that I want to unpack, but I'm trying to stick to my notes, okay? When I interview somebody or have a conversation like this, when we're talking history, I never write nothing. I just go off the top. But since I have you here and not knowing when I can have you back, I want to stick to what I want to stick to, and that's this. When breaking first started, was it predominantly just all footwork?
I don't know of anyone who is hitting the floor like that.
Okay.
Because the footwork that you see now,
of course,
was created by a Puerto Rican guy named B-Boy Spy.
Okay.
So that regular circular motion of footwork that most of the world does right now, that's B-Boy Spy. That's a Latino thing right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But B-Boy Spy was before me. he was part of that original group. So let me correct myself. You know, and sometimes I forget to associate his name with those original B-boys
Yes.
that were doing most of the stuff on top.
Uh-huh.
Because I met Spy at the time that I got in, and I didn't know him from when he used to hang out with those other people before me. So, and he would sit here and say that he was the one that created breaking as we know it today.
Okay.
But again, it's not like we had notes, you know, diaries and all that stuff,
Right.
and video cameras to have as proof. So some stories we have to say with the idea of, all right, well, I could be corrected somewhere along the line, leave room for error, and try not to be absolute, because I think people who try to be absolute when it comes to stuff like that, you're doing a disservice to someone else's contribution somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Because it was very territorial back then.
Right.
I may have been either stupid, brave, or just hungry enough to go into neighborhoods I probably couldn't have made it out of if not for the fact that I was just talented. So I don't know what happened everywhere. A lot of people don't know what happened everywhere because a lot of people weren't welcomed everywhere. It was very turf related back then.
Okay.
And you know what that's like?
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, because my thing is this. Here in the 80s, I'm going to give you a picture of how it was here in the 80s, and it's probably a lot similar to the Bronx. In the 80s, two things. Gang violence was at an all-time high. Okay, the Bloods, the Crips, and the Essays. Okay, out here, the Bloods and the Crips consisted of Samoans, Filipinos, Cambodians, blacks, and even there was a lot of Bloods, Crip Mexicans.
Yeah.
You know, and then the Essays, you did have some blacks and some whites in the Essay gangs, but when crack hit, it spread like wildfire. Okay, and then gangster rap came out late 80s, okay? 88 when Eazy-E dropped his debut album, NWA, etc. But that's how it was in here in LA. How was the Bronx in the 80s, you growing up?
Yeah, same thing. The Bronx became, as hip-hop started to grow, territory became a very different. I guess the idea of having territory or turf, whatever you want to call it, was more based on drug spots.
Oh, okay.
Who ran these blocks? It wasn't so much about like if you were in a crew, but were you a threat to someone else's operation?
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
but you still had to be very careful when you walk through those areas. Because, you know, everyone's leery and everybody's like, oh, man, you know, who the fuck is this dude, man?
Yeah,
Why are you looking at me like that?
Yeah. Who brought this guy around?
Yeah. You know, or why is that dude riding up the block on that bike like that? Yo, find out who that motherfucker is.
Okay.
Shit like that.
Okay. Now, you know what's crazy, man? This is how much of an influence you guys had over here on us, and you guys probably didn't even know it. Like, for an example, when we first saw Style Wars.
Yeah.
We saw Wild Style. You know, as a matter of fact, Alex, if you could bring up a clip, I kind of want to walk us through it. Our first clip, okay? It has no audio, but after that, pause it, and then we're gonna ask him to pretty much elaborate on the video that we're watching. Okay, here we go, right here.
Yep.
Okay.
That's me. That's Lenny Len right there. That's my cousin.
Okay, so that's not you right there.
Wait, I can't even see from here. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
That's
with
me.
the
I'm
white
sorry.
pants. Okay.
Yep.
Now, right there, what kind of shoes are you wearing? Are you wearing Chucks?
I think those are probably, I can't see. I need my glasses.
It's okay.
Pause it. I think those are Pro-Keds. I think they're Pro-Keds.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I think they're Pro-Keds.
How old were you right there?
If we filmed that in 81, I was 15.
Oh, shit. Oh, because you were in high school already.
Yeah, I mean, for
Now,
the amount of times I would show up.
Now, here's something that a lot of people may not ask you, or may have, but I don't know. How were you able to get into that documentary?
It was because of my guy, Take One. So do you see the dude in the background with the white hat to
Okay.
your left? right behind me on my right. But that's Take One. Take One knew Henry Chalfant. And because Take One was a graffiti writer.
Okay.
Take One was a Dominican and Puerto Rican brother, and from Washington Heights in New York.
Okay.
So I knew Take One because I had lived in Manhattan for like 4 years.
Okay.
And when these people got arrested on the subway in Manhattan for fighting when they were actually breaking and battling, it came out in a newspaper, and Henry Chalfant had asked Take.
Stop it right there. Press pause, please. I need to say something about that. When I saw this documentary and I saw you hold that card up, I was telling Thoro this earlier. I said, for me, Crazy Legs took that shit to a whole nother level. Like, this fool had a business card. That's how serious he was about it. That's the way I took it.
But I was inspired by hearing that the organization had their membership cards. So, but the only difference is, I don't know how they made theirs, if they sent them out to get them printed. I actually made mine in school, in junior high school, in printing shop.
Oh, shit.
Like, yeah. So, yeah, I forgot. What was the other thing I was saying before that?
My apologies. It's just that right there, that, believe it or not, I don't know why, but that meant a lot to me because it showed me that you took your craft very serious.
Yeah,
bro.
absolutely.
So to me, that was dope. Finish playing it, and then we'll go to the next one afterwards.
Just so you know, we had 2 cards.
Okay.
So we had another crew for doing dirt.
Oh, okay.
And that was called the Yoke City Mob.
The Yoke City
So
Mob.
I made different cards for that, for the people who would do, like, dirt.
Okay.
And yes, I made two versions of cards.
Now, since I'm a collector and I like to collect a lot of shit, do you still have any of those original cards?
I have one left.
One left.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe one day when I go, you show it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. You can stop it right there. Okay. We'll go on to the next one in a minute. But that right there, man, as a kid, that meant a lot to me. That was like 1983, if I'm correct.
No, before that.
So
when we filmed that, it was 81.
81 then.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was early 81.
But the release date said 83.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we filmed that in 81 because we had, so when we battled them in Queens at a place called United States of America.
Okay.
And, for me, if you go to someone else's neighborhood, you know that you're going to be outnumbered crowd-wise. And when they asked who won, they declared it a tie. So I always thought to myself, like, wait a second, I'm in your neighborhood and it's a tie? That's a win to me. How the hell am I going to be in your neighborhood and it's a tie? It makes no sense at all. So we got into that movie because Henry Chalfant, the documentary, because Henry Chalfant wanted to do something on graffiti, but also wanted to feature, or he asked Take One, like, do you know what this stuff is? This breaking stuff or rocking? And Take One says, yeah, I know the best people in the city. So he brought me and Frosty Freeze down, because Frosty Freeze also used to write graffiti. We all used to write graffiti. It's like in Wild Style, we're all graffiti writers. And he brought us down there. We did a demo, and he told us he was working on the doc. And then he said he wanted to film us. So I said, hey, well, we're going to battle this crew out in Queens. Why don't you come film us?
Oh, okay.
So I asked, in effect, I gave Dynamic Rockers their first gig, because it could have been just Rocksteady. They didn't ask. They didn't say, let's film Dynamic.
Right.
I was like, yo, let's just catch us, smoke these dudes,
Right.
And then after that battle, in August, I wanted to do it in neutral ground. So we did it at Lincoln Center.
Okay.
So now I'm giving them their second gig.
Wow.
We invited them to battles there, and that was just a smoke show, completely demolished them. And I don't say that from like a biased perspective of us, but because I love the art so much.
Yes.
Same way with fighting. Hey, if I lose a fight, I can admit it. It's okay. If I lose a b-boy battle, I can admit that shit too. But if you lost, if I smoked you, yeah, I'm gonna take pride in that shit.
Yeah.
So that was on August 15th or 16th of 1981.
Okay.
and I still have the flyer from that.
Wow. Wow. Okay, now, Rocksteady, the name.
Yep.
How did that come about?
So there were two stories out there. The first one was debunked, which I thought was true, but that was only because I wasn't at the time in contact with the original founders of Rocksteady, so I took the word of someone else. And when I eventually bumped into Jimmy D, who was the original president, and Jimmy Lee, they gave me, so I went to go visit Jimmy Lee. He was on a little vacation. He's still on vacation.
Okay.
Since '83, he's been on vacation.
Okay.
So when I went to go visit him, he told me his version. I'm like, wow, that doesn't match up with what this other dude told me. And I'm not even going to throw the other dude under the bus, because at the end of the day, he's still one of the original members, and I'm not here to trash anyone like that.
Right.
But then when I eventually bumped into Jimmy D, now he ended up doing like 25 years in the Navy.
Oh.
Yeah, he went away. And these are like two dudes who were notorious stick-up kids.
Yeah.
And but they started this crew Rocksteady, and they told me that, all right, so Jimmy D said, of course, the dance was also called rocking, and they would always tell Jimmy D and Jimmy Lee, like, yo, you guys stay steady battling, man.
Oh, okay.
So they put Rocksteady together and formed Rocksteady Crew.
Okay. How did Up Rocking start?
You know what? I'm not the person to ask that.
Okay.
Yeah, because that wasn't my thing. Did I up rock? Yeah. Would I consider myself an up rocker? Absolutely not. It was just something I enjoyed having fun with. It's kind of like someone who's a sniper but likes to play around with a bow and arrow every now and then.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I don't want to get that wrong.
Okay.
With respect to the people who created it.
All good. The only reason why I'm asking, because I knew guys that were dope at up rocking but sucked at breaking, and then I knew guys that knew how to break dope,
right,
but didn't know how to up rock.
But it's also, that's like somebody who is amazing at salsa but not good at merengue.
Okay.
Or cumbia or whatever,
right.
Bachata.
Okay. Now, for people to get an idea of what you were breaking to in 81 or when you first started, what were you guys breaking to? Because obviously today we think rap.
No, when I started breaking, there was no such thing as a rap record.
Right.
We were dancing to break beats, original funk and soul, sometimes jazz records like Take Me to the Mardi Gras by Bob James. Give It Up and Turn It Loose by James Brown. Of course, there's the typical, It's Just Begun by Jimmy Castor and the Castor Bunch, The Mexican by Babe Ruth, and then incredible bongo band had several records out, like Apache, Bongo Rock, Bongolia. Yeah. There were a lot of records that DJs were cutting up segments of. And it was very different, because you would go to a jam, and it wasn't because you were going to a jam to break. If you were a B-boy, you definitely wanted to break. But a jam, you went to a jam, people are dancing, guys meeting girls, being shy to go up to a girl. You go to the jam thinking, yeah, I'm going to ask that girl to dance today. I'm going to go up to her. And
right.
Either you go up to her, you're a sucker. You see some other dude go up to her because you was too scared to make your move.
Right.
And we're children. And then, but when the break beats came on, you go from a song like Hot Shot by Karen Young to Apache, two different vibes. And then, one vibe is one thing. The other is kind of like time to lace up your sneakers and get busy and battle. Right. But when the break beats were over, you're back to whatever the style of music was. Where compared to today, everything's just like, oh, you're going to a B-boy jam. It's just breaking, popping, lying. You don't really see a party vibe. Like a natural party vibe. Music is played for the idea that, okay, I know you got a group of house dancers here, they're gonna go off. You got, it was more of it was more for the style of dancers as opposed to the social interaction of mingling and getting to know each other and relationships, and people coming from different neighborhoods. I would say now it's more of the show off.
Okay. Alice, go ahead and bring up the next video. Okay, this one right here, I believe it's the flash dance one. Okay, walk us through that, please. How did you get the role for that part on flash dance?
We didn't audition. They came down and watched us perform at the Roxy, and when they saw us, they were like, "Hey, we're gonna put you in this movie." That was it.
Okay,
that is it. That's the whole story.
Okay. Now, before this part right here, because this is you, if I'm correct.
Not yet. That's a gymnast. And then now is me. That's me. Just going into the backspin.
Okay.
I don't do the dive. So that scene was done by 4 people, the whole scene.
Okay.
All the dance. You had Jennifer Beals, you had the French girl, I forget her name, sorry. And then there was a gymnast who never gets mentioned because, she did the dive.
Okay.
And then it cuts to me.
Okay. Now, Jennifer Beal, how was it? Did you meet her?
Yeah, honestly, man, look, I was a hood dude back then. I didn't give a shit about any of that,
Okay.
I just wanted to know, like, how much am I getting? You guys want me to dress in a leotard and all this? Like, what are we talking about? Like, I'm Puerto Rican. You want me to shave my mustache? The shit is just growing in now. Do you know how important that is for a fucking Latino?
Yes.
To get that peach fuzz starting to grow in. So when I had to shave that was tough. That was the toughest part of that whole scene for me, was shaving my mustache.
Wow. How many takes did it take for you to do that scene, if you can recall?
Wasn't long at all, man. Maybe
one, twice, 3, 4. Because I'm sure they probably wanted to get different angles.
I couldn't imagine that it was more than like 5 times.
Okay.
It was pretty easy.
Now, there was another scene that we didn't get where she's walking in, like, it looks like an alley, and you guys are...
It's a street.
Okay, street.
Yeah.
And you guys dancing on the cardboard. How many takes did it take for you guys on that one?
We just danced straight through. There was no one take. And then they took whatever they took out of there and used it and edited some of the other stuff out.
Did you attend the premiere?
Yes, in New York.
How did that feel for you, man, to see yourself on the big screen? I know you've seen yourself on other ones.
I would say when you're Black or Latino and you're that young.
Yes.
The excitement. I don't think we understood the excitement that people around us felt about us, because there's a certain pride, a certain hood pride, as much, and it's crazy because the hood will celebrate you and then they'll try to take you down at the same time. The moment they have the right opportunity, because the hate can come after. But I would say we were definitely excited about it, but we had no real appreciation for it. We didn't set out to have careers. So we're just, and you got to remember, if we go on tour, we go do a film, getting off of that isn't like, I was able to buy a house now. No, we got paid bullshit money.
Okay. And
we were going back into the hood. Our way of enjoying ourselves was like, all right, cool, I'm going to go get a bag of weed, go get some quarts of beer, rent what we call an OJ, which is like a car service.
Okay.
But it was a hip-hop car service.
Okay.
And ride around for like an hour or two, pull up on different neighborhoods. What's up, man? Let everybody see you in that. You just flossing, and you think you the shit. Because no one else has anything. That little bit we had was a lot to the next person.
That's awesome.
And of course, you're doing that for the attention of girls.
Right.
And women love status.
Yeah. That's for sure.
So, yeah, we were ghetto celebrities.
Awesome.
Instantly.
Let's bring up the next video, okay? by this time you were already like a legend out here in my city. That's the
Buffalo Gals, yeah.
Buffalo Gals video. Okay. I remember being at a club. I was still a teenager. My brother was teaching at a club in Long Beach. And as soon as I seen your part, I knew I was like, that's Crazy Legs right there. Now, keep in mind when I say that, after this guy's head spin, you come up right there.
No.
That's not you?
No, that's Buck 4.
Oh.
That was my best friend.
Bro.
And that's Frosty Freeze.
Okay, then let me give him his props because I thought you were gliding on that motherfucker.
No, I was injured. At
Really?
that time. That's why I'm not in there.
Oh, man. Okay, then let me give your boy his props. Because when I could have swore, because he's got his hair and everything just like you.
No, it was just a bad day for his hair. Yeah, his hair was finer than mine. He had more Mexican hair than anything.
Okay, I want to say this because all my homies, especially the guy that you were supposed to meet, Angel, you were supposed to go to Los Tres and meet him. We all thought that was you right there, bro,
no,
growing up.
That was my best friend right there.
So at this point, you were injured and not being able to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? That was one of the fan questions. Somebody DM'd me, asked him, talk to him about him being in the Buffalo Gals. But so there's a lot of people that thought that was you.
I'm in a certain area, section of Buffalo Gals, but I'm not really dancing.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, when they're in front of the handball court,
okay.
I'm one of the guys with the Buffalo hat.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Now, we got a couple of minutes before we're going to take like a 1 minute break because I got to promote something. Yep. But I do want to say this. I don't even know where to start. Your favorite, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Your favorite breakdancing shoe?
Oh, favorite shoe to dance in would be probably at different times I had different sneakers because a lot of times it was based on what you could afford.
Okay.
So back then, when we first started to dance, the most popular shoe was the Pro-Keds and Chucks.
Okay.
And then if you had some budget or if you robbed somebody, you go get yourself a pair of Puma baskets or some Adidas or some Nike Cortez.
What about ponies? Are ponies ever popular?
Ponies were popular, yeah. Pony, but that was kind of like short-lived. And pony wasn't necessarily a dance sneaker. It was like, you know, when you talk about like those leather sneakers, like Adidas, Puma, Pony, that was like, okay, I'm getting dressed up now. Okay.
Yeah. Fat shoelaces, how did that start?
Oh, man. So there are different stories on that. From my perspective, it's right next to Rocksteady Park, in like maybe 81, 82, there was an appliance store, a 99-cent store, and an ice cream store. The appliance store, in between the park and the appliance store was an alleyway where they had all their trash.
Okay.
They would throw their cardboard boxes there. That's how the whole cardboard boxes thing started because we would go practice under the swings where they had the rubber mats.
Okay.
But you get dirty on those and you can't spin on those. We didn't walk around with cardboard boxes to battle or anything like that. We only used that to not get dirty or to practice in the park.
Okay.
And then the 99-cent store was where we used to steal the tape to tape up the boxes. But originally, fat shoelaces, whoever started the idea of widening the shoelaces, and I remember doing this in the 70s with the cotton laces, which weren't fat, you would wet them and then get a hot iron with the tip of the iron and press down the middle of a wet shoelace to make them expand.
Wow.
And then when we would go to that 99-cent store, which sold like some textile stuff, and we would get the elastic and to make and use them as shoelaces. Mm-hmm. And so that was my experience with fat laces. I wasn't inspired by anyone else, and I couldn't even tell you who was the first one to do it.
Okay,
you know, but I believe it came from the idea of getting them super fat laces was Rocksteady crew, easily.
Okay. Yeah. If there was a jeans that you guys would wear out there, what were it? 501s, Wranglers,
Lee Riders.
Lee Riders.
Lee Riders were the first ones.
Okay.
Bell bottom,
because
then you could. We used to roll them up also, like kind of bring a flap, would serve two purposes.
Okay.
Maybe a little stylish, but also when you're riding a bike,
Okay.
to not get it caught up in the chain.
Okay. Now,
But the other thing is, when those bell bottoms were flared out, that meant that if you had the money to get a graffiti artist to do a piece down the side of your pant, you could. It's more space to do that artwork on.
oh, okay. Okay. Now, these right here.
Yeah, name buckles.
How did that start?
I don't know. Honestly, I think that may have been either the older rappers or the stick-up kids.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the slightest idea.
The bomber jackets.
Bomber jackets again. Bomber jackets. Here's the thing: the people who had the money to have fresh gear were the rappers and the stick-up kids.
Okay.
So that's more of a question for like a Grandmaster Caz or a Jimmy D or a Jimmy D
Okay.
or a B-Boy Spy, or a Grand Mix of DST, and they're all those guys are older than me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there anything that Crazy Legs wore specifically? Like, this is me. Like people know Crazy Legs for that.
No, because early on we were poor, bro, and we would, sometimes we didn't have fresh gear until we caught a victim out there. Look, it's not. And when I talk about that stuff, I don't say it because I'm proud of it, because there's definite remorse over it. I say it because there's, you have to show, if you're really going to be a true, reference for someone in terms of direction and change, you can't hide, the dirt you did in the streets. You gotta be like, yo,
Right.
I'm born into this shitty situation. I did these bad things, but I don't do that no more. And I actually feel bad about it, but this is me now. And so unfortunately, a lot of times, the only time we actually made legit money was when we started performing.
Right. Okay. I got a couple of more questions, but let's bring up the last video, and if you can walk us through it and narrate it. This is probably the world famous breakdancing scene on Beat Street, and I believe this is 84, correct?
We filmed that in 83.
Okay, 83. How old were you here?
17.
17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I take it you know everybody here.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. You know what? I think you got the most parts on here, huh? You got like 3 parts, if I'm correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you why that happened.
Why is that?
This guy, Lester Wilson, who was brought on as kind of like I wouldn't say, although he was a choreographer, he was doing the blocking and the creating what the lens of the camera would see. And New York City breakers were a problem for him.
Oh,
they were giving him a hard time. So, and I only know this because I went up to him during the time we were filming, and I was like, say, yo, what's up, Lester? Everything okay? He goes, don't even worry about it. I'm gonna take care of you.
Okay.
So because they were acting up, and look, I think we had more discipline because and not to say that we were perfect, because quite a few of us in that scene right there are on acid.
No shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
But that day, New York City Breakers also tore up their trailer.
Oh, man.
And so those things, that stuff was spreading around the set. And since Rocksteady was actually more disciplined, he
showed more love.
Yeah, and I was the leader of the crew.
Okay. Man, those are some dope ass fucking moves right there. I think you should be coming up next after the other guy.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. Because it's like, okay, now where was that filmed?
The Roxy.
Okay, the Roxy.
18th Street, between 10th and 11th Avenues in New York City.
Okay, was that during the day, at night? When did you guys film that?
Man, we were on set all day. You know, as movie sets, you get there early, you sit and wait. Hurry up and wait.
Okay.
We were filming into the night.
Did the director, was he the one that said, okay, you go next, you go next, you go?
No. We weren't. First of all, we weren't even dancing to the music that they played. We were dancing to real break beats.
Oh, okay.
So when they first played the music for us.
Here you go, right here, right?
Yeah. When they first played the music for us, they're like, oh, this is what you're going to dance to. We protested. We were like, nah, we're not dancing to that.
Now we call those swipes over here. Is that what
they're swipes.
Okay.
Those are swipes, yeah. Continuous swipes, to donkey kicks. To footwork,
See when,
spin.
oh shit. Now would you say right there you were at your best?
Probably. For that period, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually got better after that.
Okay. All right. Wow.
You gotta remember, we were
there you go again.
rehearsing for tours and all that stuff. And here's the funny thing. I watched our first show recently.
Okay.
And my thing is, I've always, people have always followed me since early in the day. And people celebrated me as being, certain people thought I was the best. Some people thought Ken Swift was the best. So some people thought Little Lep was or Pex was the best. But I never understood why people thought I was as good as I was. Because I guess a lot of people are hard on themselves when it comes to their skills. And we don't see what other people see in us.
Right.
But when I watched this footage recently, and I had never seen this until this year, and I'll send it to you, I was like, oh, shit, I get it now.
Yeah.
Because when I watched our first show, I was the person who least messed up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and danced the most. Yeah, so this right here, this move.
Okay, windmill.
Yeah.
I have to ask you that.
I made that up. That's my move.
Okay, let's give him a hand clap right there. And he said it here on ROADIUM Radio.
Yeah, there's someone else trying to take credit from it, from Dynamic Rockers. After like decades and decades, all of a sudden he wants to claim that he made it. I'm not even going to say his name because it's not worth it. Some bullshit.
Okay, can you rewind that, just his little part right there, Alex? Yeah. Just a little part right there. So right here is the windmill, guys. Come to find out now, you made that up.
Yeah, and back then it wasn't called a windmill. It's called a continuous backspin.
Okay, did you learn that by accident?
Yes, I was practicing, and I over-rotated, going from a backspin into a chair freeze, and then I went back onto my back. And then it spun again.
Holy shit.
And I still didn't understand. And my cousin Lenny Len was around me a lot, so he would point out things to me and be like, yo, do that shit again. I'm like, do what? That was an accident. I meant to do something else. So I was...
Play that again, please, that little part, that windmill. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I because of those situations, I learned to recognize...
So you realize, let me just keep going and keep going and keep going.
Yeah.
Now, back then, let me just talk about rap, popping, and locking. A lot of locking was the same, but when it came to popping, when it came to DJing, nobody bid anybody, because you would be considered a biter. So now, you come out with this. Mm-hmm. Was there a lot of biters, or did you teach it?
I taught my crew, but back then, but here's the thing with biting. When we were saying those things, we were very young. We didn't understand influence. We didn't understand impact.
Okay.
We didn't understand
inspiring.
How to look at it as like, that's my shit. Everybody's doing it.
Wow.
So even when I had gone on hiatus and decided to start up again in the late 80s or early 90s, I was talking to this brother. It was Jerry Fontanez. They used to call him Fast Feet. He was a light heavyweight champ in kickboxing, and he used to roll with us. And he was like, yo, Legs, what's up? Rock steady for the 90s. I was like, nah, man, what am I going to do? Come out here and battle people who are doing my moves?
Right.
And he's like, Legs, you're looking at it wrong. You got to remember, you created something that went around the world, bro. You need to be proud about that shit. And the thing is, when it comes to, I think when you stylistically steal something and you're trying to emulate the character of someone, that's bad. But if you're taking a move and remixing it, it's kind of like a song. You have your regular record that comes out, then you give it to somebody else to remix it,
Right.
and now that shit is like, oh wow, that's the Funk Master Flex remix.
Okay.
You know, or the DJ Premier remix.
Right.
Now Premier has his thumbprint on it.
Okay. You could take that down now, Alex. We're gonna take like 1 minute break. You go ahead and put up the flyer really quick. And okay, everybody. Once again, let me go ahead and promote this. Forever Genesis dropped her EP on February 14th, earlier, like last month or so. And if you guys have not checked it out, definitely check it out. It's on all streaming platforms. If you guys want a physical copy, you could DM her or reach out to her on Instagram or on Facebook or on all social media platforms. If you guys want a USB, reach out to her once again on Instagram, Forever Genesis. Definitely, it's worth purchasing, and I'll tell you why. Not only did she write her own music, did she produce 98% of it, did she track her own music, did she write her own lyrics? I think I said that already. But we got Chris the Glove Taylor to mix down a song, and we got Tony G, the KD mix master, to mix down the rest. So she has a lot of greats that had their thumbprint on this record, like DJ Dominator from Santa Maria. So much love and respect to him. I produced one song, co-produced 3 songs, but 98% of it is hers. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because growing up in this music industry since 1987, I don't know too many people that track their own stuff, that write their own lyrics, that produce their own stuff. Like, the only other person that I could say did that was Dre and DJ Quick. And I kind of compare her to that. That's why I got involved, because I believe in her greatness. Let's go to the next one. And for those of you guys that are in the Stockton area, she's going to be performing at the Impala's Stockton Super Show. If you guys want tickets, it's www.impalasmagazine.com, or you can buy them at the door. Once again, www.impalasmagazine.com. And she'll be performing there. And there's a lot more tour dates coming up. And if you guys want your business promoted, once again, on this platform, the way we used to do it, DM me at Tony A. The Wiz on Instagram, or Tony Alvarez on Facebook, and we'll get it going. So with that being said, let's continue the episode once again with legendary B-boy, Crazy Legs. Now, Crazy Legs, how did you come up with that name?
I didn't come up with the name. There's a girl named Arlene Rosario. She was the captain of the cheerleaders in my junior high school.
Uh-huh.
She was after school. A lot of people were hanging out in the auditorium, cheerleaders practicing their thing. Me and my friends were practicing breaking. And this is when I lived in Manhattan for like 4 years. And she's walking down the aisle with all the cheerleaders.
Okay.
And she looks over and she's like, "Ooh, he got some crazy legs." So she started calling me Crazy Legs. So the cheerleaders started calling me Crazy Legs. Now I'm thinking like, well, I got the dopest women in this school calling me that. I'm running with it. You know, like, you got the baddest girls in the school.
Yes.
You know, dubbing you something. And I eventually got a shirt that said Crazy Legs. I put it on and yeah. I just stayed with it.
How old were you when you got that?
7th grade, man. So I was, what, 13, 14?
Wow. Okay. I always thought your footwork was fucking dope. Okay. Was there anybody else out there around your time that had also dope?
Len.
Okay.
Look, I would say Rocksteady was very good with fundamentals. Like, I don't think anyone was better than us when it came to the fundamentals in terms of like what people know as the b-boy scene today, because maybe they don't have access to what I saw when I came up, because there were no videos of B-Boy Spy, Jimmy D, Jimmy Lee, Mongo Rock, Trace, all these people who I admired and I emulated.
Okay.
So my style was based on all these different influences. And then because I guess the way my body naturally moves, and I'm pigeon-toed.
Oh, okay.
So my footwork looks different because my feet turn in a little. So it, by default, creates the idea that I'm actually doing something different when I'm just doing it the way everyone else does, except I have a born a born defect.
Right.
That makes my feet turn in a little. So it makes it look like I'm purposely doing that when I'm not. I'm just doing what I do. So one time I go to Japan, and these guys, this is like in the 90s when we first went to Japan after a long time. They said, look, we do our footwork like you. We do crazy leg style. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm pigeon-toed. I'm not even trying to do that. It's just my feet just point in. That's it.
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people made it as if I created that style when I was just imitating other people.
Oh, okay. Now, out here, again, and I say we, me and my homies, okay, we were influenced and loved everything that came out of New York. To, the jeans, to the sneakers, to the turtlenecks, to the dookie chains, to the bomber jackets, to the Kangos, to the gazelles, and even to the accents. There was dudes out here faking accents.
Yeah.
Okay? And when they would break, they would say, you know what? I got New York style footwork. Because everything was New York. So you guys had a major influence. Now, keep in mind, this is 80s, and we have no social media. But we knew damn well who Crazy Legs was. And that's crazy because looking at credits and looking at movies and videos, we knew who Crazy Legs was. So to us out here, bro, you're a legend. And I give you your flowers, bro.
Thank you, bro.
That's why when Thorough told me, let's call it Crazy Legs, bro, I got fucking geeked out, bro. I came home and I told all my homies, I said, bro, me as a grown man being 57 years old, I almost fucking tripped over myself when I met this dude right here. I remember my son was filming us, and you go, what are we going to shake hands, or we're going to film a documentary, But that was a special moment for me, But
let me tell you, when it comes to stuff like that, it's more, I think the older we get, more important thing to me is the legacy that we leave as Latinos that make other Latinos say, that's one of us, that's part of us.
Absolutely.
And I don't, when it comes to myself being Puerto Rican, when I look at my contributions to hip hop being Puerto Rican, I'm not thinking Puerto Rican first. I'm thinking all of us, because a lot of us are colonized people.
Yeah.
And a lot of our history was destroyed, some more than others.
Yes.
And if we've created something that made other Latinos, or helped to contribute to something that inspired other Latinos and made them feel part of something or want to be part of something because they saw other people who speak the same language as them do it. And, if that led to did we do bad shit? Yeah. But if you want to develop your skills, you got to spend, if you want to be dope, you have to develop your skills.
Yes.
If you're developing your skills, the bullshit that you would be doing otherwise, you're not doing that. It's indirect.
Yes.
So I don't, like a lot of people say, yo, hip hop saved my life. No, your choices saved your life.
Okay.
Because you could have chose to do something else.
Yeah.
Hip hop was your tool.
Yeah.
And I get what you mean. You're so passionate about it. But what if you didn't make the choice to practice?
Right.
How is hip hop going to save your life?
Yeah.
It's not a person.
Yeah.
And I think we don't give ourselves credit for making this certain decisions to develop our crafts instead of go rob somebody or go hurt somebody.
Okay. That makes sense. I wanted to say this, that out here, when I first started popping, I was taught popping by Boogaloo Shrimp, Michael Chambers, who people know Turbo from breaking. His family, he lived like 3 blocks away from here. I spent one summer with him, and he taught me how to pop, okay? And I wasn't that damn good, but I wanted to learn how to pop. He was more of a Boogaloo guy, more wave and everything. So I did that, and then I tried break dancing. I was too damn tall. My legs were hitting fucking buckets everywhere in the garage. I just sucked until I finally saw that I was a natural when it came to DJing, cutting, and scratching.
Nice. Yeah.
So that was it. That was it. Now, I say that because...
And you can still be within the same scene.
Yes. That I was leading into the whole element, the 4 elements of hip-hop, which is graffiti, DJing, okay, I'll just say b-boying, okay, and MCing.
Yep.
Okay, now, somebody told me from New York said that it was now knowledge. People have added. Can you elaborate?
All right, so this is what happened. It was originally breaking, graffiti, DJ, and MCing, right?
Okay.
Now, in the 80s, it was when Dougie Fresh came out, that's when the fifth element was added.
Oh,
but
okay.
in the early 90s, during a Zulu meeting, Bambaataa was thinking, hey, you know, we need to do something that is about upliftment and education. So he said, without the consensus of anyone in hip hop, it's not like, you know, he would just do a lot of random things. And, you know, he's the one that named hip hop. You know, he gave hip hop the name. So one day we walk in and he goes, hey, everybody, from now on, the fifth element is knowledge.
Okay.
He should have just, I believe he should have, I think it would have done a better service to beatboxing if he just would have said, hey, knowledge is the sixth element. There's a new element now, you know, but don't take out beatboxing. But he was more concerned with mental upliftment and knowledge. So I get why he did it. I think it could have been done better. Could have been done better, and with respect to the idea that there is another element that you kind of push to the side, you know, for the sake of something dope and good. You know, because people think, oh, I got to get into hip hop. What are the elements? Oh, not when, you know, all these things, but then knowledge itself, education, people, all that stuff. So yeah, and that's how that, and that was maybe 1990, 91.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because knowledge wasn't an element of hip hop in the 80s or the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember in the 70s, it was mostly stick-up kids and dudes that were like former gang members or, you know, or just people from the hood. So when it comes to education, that's not something that was really being pushed in the streets like that.
Right. Okay. Okay. Now, here's a good question, okay? What is, and I'll go first, but what is your favorite, if you have one, break dancing song? Mine has always been Play at Your Own Risk.
And we didn't even see that as a breaking song.
I know.
We saw that more as like electro funk with...
and I'm glad you said electro funk, because that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like we saw that as more of like Boogaloo style. Boogaloo style, yeah.
Okay.
And in New York, of course, you know, people mistakenly called Boogaloo Electric Boogie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But that was only because when people were watching Soul Train, you got the Electric Boogaloos on there, so people started saying Electric Boogie as the dance after the group. But there was still, and it became like a mix of locking and popping, which is kind of a mess, I would say, from the eyes of someone from the West Coast.
Yes, yes.
You know, and but yeah, I think, yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, so.
Oh, but my favorite song?
Yes, if you have one.
Oh, it was Mambo number 5.
Mambo number 5. Okay, dope. See, it's funny, man, because out here we grew up with different breaking music. Of course, we're gonna say Planet Rock.
But I know that, you see, you're talking 80s songs. I'm
correct.
Talking songs
beforehand.
In the 70s.
Yes. Okay.
So we came up at different times.
Right. Exactly. So for us, it was looking at the perfect beat, Planet Rock. You know, it was that break dance. Remember that shit, man.
Was that West Street Mob?
Yes, exactly. It was that kind of stuff. You know, and
don't get me wrong, we loved all that too. We did dance to certain things. Like looking for the perfect beat was, you know, we enjoyed that. It's crazy because I'm still thinking about, like, if we would hear that song in the Roxy or at Broadway 96 or wherever we were.
Right.
Those songs would come on at peak time in the club. Everybody was high and dancing. So it was, you know, by the time that song came on, you were sweating already. You've been sweating.
That's one thing about break dancers. A lot of those dudes smell fucking nasty, bro, because they were
back then.
okay.
We didn't move like it wasn't like that for us back then because we were all about the deodorant.
Okay.
That became more of a '90s thing.
There you go.
The new version of b-boys and b-girls, you know, you have people who come from different countries where they're more natural or whatever, or you have this like whole hippie movement, you know, people want to be on some like, I just want to be free and I don't want to put chemicals on my body, but you stinking up the joint. You know, yo, I don't know, throw some gold bond up in those armpits, do something.
Right. Because I remember dudes out here popping and locking and then breaking, jury curl dripping everywhere.
That's a whole other
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then dudes looked like they smelled like they didn't wipe their ass for a whole week, and over here busting windmills and everybody getting that windmill dust. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of dudes stunk. So if you break, please, you know, take a shower, put on some deodorant.
Yeah.
Now, we got a few minutes because I respect your time, my brother. And even though I wish you could stay here 4 hours, okay? My thing is this. We saw the breaking from the 70s and the 80s, and we see now breaking just take off.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, if I'm correct, the Olympics.
Yep.
There was a certain female.
Uh-huh.
And the only reason I bring it up,
Yeah.
you can stop me if you want.
No, that's fine.
Because I saw a post when I was following you on Instagram, and you were like, you know, I wasn't going to bring this up, but
Yeah.
Why was that person there, bro?
Because other people didn't have the resources to get themselves there. She comes from a more privileged situation. There are a lot of dope b-boys and b-girls in Australia. Okay. And, you know, the rules out there, I believe you had, number one, you know, they have a different economy.
Yes.
The value of their currency is less. And if you're Aboriginal or someone from a less fortunate community, and that's a massive country.
Yeah.
And you have to make it to qualifiers. You don't have the money. You don't have the ability to pay for a passport, and you have to join like 3 different organizations to be able to compete. I think it was an economics thing. I wish she would have. I wish she would have not been there at all. You know, because, and I wouldn't have said that before, but because she kept doubling down on the bullshit. And when I think of Black and brown people who grew up poor, and something came out of that, kind of like the something out of nothing situation.
Yes.
And that's what helped us get by during desperate times. I think of those things that led to the creation of breaking, and then to see some white chick come in, some entitled chick, and disregard, or maybe not really even know the history of this, and doesn't, or either they don't know or they don't care about our legacy as a people.
Yes.
And how she made a mockery of our creations. So for me, it's insulting for all of us as a people who who grew up in poverty.
Yeah.
So that is the most important thing. It's like, yo, like, you know how many people died around us, or how many of us would have died had we not made the choice to become part of the scene just because of our environment? And this girl, you know, people ran to her aid. If she had been a person of color, it would have dragged her. Everybody would have dragged her even more. No one would have come to her aid.
Yeah.
You know, and she kind of got some, I think she may have gotten some opportunities because of it. And I'm glad I wasn't at the Olympics. I was in the Bronx. We threw an event in the Bronx, a watch party at a restaurant called Barrio BX. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be with the community and celebrate from the home of where this all came from.
Right.
With the people that grew up with it, and it meant so much to. And you know, to have to deal with all these calls. And I'm like, yo, I'm not there. I got nothing to do with that. Don't ask me.
Right.
You know, I don't know the deal. I don't know how she got there. A lot of people try to say, oh, well, she's on the board of this and on the board of that. And people were speculating all these things. Most of it wasn't true.
Wow.
And there was I would say there was nothing nefarious about her ability to get into it as far as someone choosing her or enabling her from the perspective of any organization.
Right.
It's just that other people didn't have the finances to have the opportunity that she had. So we ended up getting some corny ass girl. Like,
You know, the crazy part is, bro, because I was watching it and my boy was next to me and I was looking at it and I was looking at him like, yo, like, is she fucking around? Like,
yeah.
You know, I was expecting her like to really to start doing some shit, but when I saw her keep doing that kangaroo bullshit, and then I was like, wait a minute.
And there was like 2 or 3 girls that didn't make it to the end because of that bullshit that were amazing. There was an Indian girl and
Yes, that Indian
and then
girl.
another guy. I can't even remember their names. I don't remember the countries they were from, but and I don't even agree with the judges. The judging was,
what was the judging
the
about?
Judges were trash. Most of the judges were people who are not from the scene.
Okay.
And the thing is that, let's say if you have a judging system, but the Olympics or whatever committee requires you to take some sort of test.
Okay.
And you get it because you're able to memorize and you have a better study habits or comprehension of what the academic side of it is, and you can memorize that and you get there, but you have no flavor, no soul. You're not a dancer. Even if you're trying to dance, you're trash. But then you have the dude from the hood who may have not had the opportunity to have a great education, but knows inside and out and through the heart everything about this dance, and would have been a better judge.
Okay.
Or B-girl, B-boy, whatever.
You weren't invited, man? Like, come be a judge?
No. And you know what? I'm so glad, because had I been there,
What would have happened?
I would have been blamed for all of that shit.
Oh, shit.
They would have been, your legs, how could you let this happen?
Okay.
And you know, when I first spoke to certain people who were dealing with the inner, people who are in control from the World Dance Federation.
Yeah.
And these are people from, one from Germany. Fuck it, let's just go there because they did a disservice to all of us. B-Boy Storm and Renegade. We were all in Buenos Aires for the not the Junior Olympics, the Youth Olympics.
Okay.
Where they were doing the kind of like a test run for certain sports, or whether it's 3-on-3 basketball, rock climbing, breaking, and we're walking in the street one night, and I'm like, yo, Renegade Storm, like, what's up, man? Like, how do we get a seat at the table? Because I think we should be talking to these people about making sure that there's a great ambassadorship program, a program that leads into the communities where Black and brown people who create these kinds of things are able to have a path towards the opportunity. How do we preserve the history? All these things. And I got that's above my pay grade. I'm like, dude, you're dealing with these people. And the thing is that they were trying to protect their opportunity to get what they created as a judging system to be used. And to me, in my opinion, it comes across like they were protecting that so much, they didn't care about anything else.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, like, you're selling us out.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up, because technically you're still an outsider. You're not from New York. I couldn't imagine someone trying to create something, a dance, or popping and locking in the Olympics, and you do not get consultation from the lockers or the electric boogaloos.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
They should have had a seat at the table. you know? And the thing is that they ended up choosing, first of all, those dudes got their judging systems stolen. Someone else trademarked it.
Oh, wow.
So their karma came back at them.
Wow.
You know, they weren't fighting for the culture. They were fighting for their own gain. And that's fucked up. And for one of them to be a black man, it's like, yo, my dude, come on, man. You one of us. Like, what are you doing? You know, how are you allowing this shit to happen? And then they end up having 3 dudes from 3 other countries that are just yes men and going along. Because I don't think the World Dance Federation or the Olympic Committee wanted anything to do with anyone who was fighting for the dignity and soul of us as a people and our art. Because we're going to be like, yo, like, we as a people need to look good after this.
Yes.
This is our shit.
Yeah.
And they didn't, there was no lane that allowed for that to happen.
Okay.
So the culture was exploited.
That's
not to say there isn't room to fix that.
Right.
I mean, you know, they should try to fix it. I think it would be a way to apologize for the ray gun shit.
Okay.
And I think we would all forget about ray gun if they did justice by the community.
Okay. Couple of more questions, again, because we're coming to your end of your time, okay? And I hate to even say that. But I did want to say this, and I kind of like doesn't even fit, but I have to ask because a fan wanted me to ask you to elaborate and talk a little bit about the Rocksteady Crew album.
We, you know, okay, so when that album was done, that's when I was hurt by the Buffalo Guys video.
Oh, okay.
So our manager at the time took Ken Swift, Doze, Buck Ford, Gudiaki, and Baby Love. She took it upon herself to choose people that she wanted to take to a studio in Boston with Charisma Records, and this guy, this gentleman named Steve Weltman, to supposedly see if people can sing.
Oh, okay.
They recorded Hey You the Rocksteady Crew, because I'm not on Hey You the Rocksteady Crew. And a month later, the record was already out. There was no deal. There was no nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. And it was already top 10 in the charts in the UK.
Wow.
So that's how that came about.
Another fan wanted me to ask you, have you ever tried to rap?
We all try to rap, man. Everybody.
All of us.
Yeah,
All of
of
us.
course, man.
Is there any recordings out there of you?
No.
Okay. Okay. Now, so like again, since we have just a few minutes, I wanted to ask you about your up and coming fight that you want to promote.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be on Celebrity Boxing. I'm gonna be fighting Lord Jamar. Lord Jamar tried to discredit the contributions of Latinos towards within hip hop and tried to say that we were guests within hip hop. And you know, when I hear that what he's doing and the platform that he's doing on, it just looks like he's doing something for clickbait and super chats and grifting. And fine, whatever. That's your hustle. Whatever. A lot of people are doing it, but I'm not one of those podcast dudes. And to me, it's personal. And you know, I think it's a lot of Latinos who feel disrespected, as well as Black Caribbean people who feel disrespected because he also disrespected Black Caribbean people, which makes no sense because Bambaataa Caribbean, Africa, Kool Herc Caribbean, Grandmaster Flash Caribbean. So it just doesn't make sense. So for me, it's about fighting for the unity of hip hop, but also getting some get back on this bullshit because better that way.
When is this supposed to take place, and where can people view it?
I believe it's going to be in August, July or August, in the Bronx. I think they're working out the venue right now. And I start training in like 5 days. I was already training because we were supposed to do this before, but he never signed the paperwork, and he was making certain demands that just aren't logical within the fight game. The business of the fight game works a certain way, whether you're doing it as an exhibition or as professional. you know, and I think now his head is within his head he understands that it has to be done a certain way,
Okay.
or else you're not going to sell a fight. Nobody's going to sell a fight if only one person's talking about it. So I was training already for 3 months. I mean, I enjoy boxing. I do it on and off. I've been doing it like that for decades now. So, you know, I know how to train and be disciplined for this. So I will, you know, I'll be in there 6 days a week. All I'm going to do is eat, train, rest.
At what weight are you guys meeting at?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think I don't, because it's a celebrity match, I don't think that's so much of a thing, because it's more like a grudge match.
Oh, okay.
You know, and
now you really gonna swing on his ass? I just had to ask.
my dude. Let's just say I'm gonna be so focused on my art so that when I break him down and it's time to let the emotion go because he's ready to go,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what I have to do.
Okay.
It's gonna be like if we in the streets.
Okay. Okay. How many rounds? Do you know all the
I think it's
details?
3 rounds.
3 rounds.
3
Okay.
rounds. I think it might be 2-minute rounds.
Okay.
I wish we could go 3-minute rounds. But my thing is, if this will make a lot of Latinos feel better about getting some respect, if I can go in there and put myself on the line for us as a whole group, whether it's Latinos or just anyone who's about unity within hip hop, no matter what your background is, because I don't look at black people as different, because at the end of the day, we're being looked at by one group as a different variation of the same shit, and they'd love for us all to fight against each other. So to me, your issues are my issues, because if you're being fucked with, you're darker than me, I'm still not them. I'm just in line to be fucked with after they finish with you. So we need to lock arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? That's why I could never hate on another group of Latinos.
Right.
Never. Fuck that shit.
So Latinos have been there since the very beginning.
Absolutely. And look, is it 50-50? I wouldn't say it was 50-50 at all. But were we there at the beginning? Yeah. That's all you have to, you know, because there are certain people who were half black, half Latino. B-Boy Spy, he looked black, but he was Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
But he hung out with black people, and he was one of those people who was part of that original generation of B-Boys. So, you know, even my brother, Puerto Rican, he was breaking before me. African Islam, half black, half Puerto Rican. Grand Mix of DST, half black, half Puerto Rican. There was a dude named Disco Mario, and his partner was named Tex Hollywood. They were the Disco Twins, original DJs. Tex Hollywood, Puerto Rican. So it's not an overwhelming amount, but you can't deny us. It's bullshit.
Well, I'm glad you're speaking out on that, honestly. I'm thankful for that. Like I said, I have so much more that I want to ask, but because of time, like I said, we'll probably have to wait for the next one.
We'll do it after the documentary comes out.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, right now we're still in very preliminary stages. COVID set a lot of things back. We're speaking to investors. We have a couple of big companies that want to be on board. Too soon to say publicly. And you know, documentaries, if you're doing it legitimately and you're not treating it like how they do it fashion, like fast fashion, and all these, like, you get these documentaries that are done like 3 weeks after a major event happens. Like, come on, man. You know, I want it to be something that's going to be looked upon as art. The same way we look at Style Wars and all that. That's what I want my documentary to be referenced as. Because as a Latino coming up in hip hop, I also know that my story is kind of the same story as a lot of other Latinos, and it's not about. I want other Latinos to feel represented. And understand why they should feel represented with real facts.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something. ¿Hablas español?
Poquito.
No, you know what? That was one of my questions that I should have asked you earlier. Growing up in a Puerto Rican home, was it required of you guys to speak Spanish? Because growing up in a Mexican home, we weren't allowed to speak English.
Right.
So
You have a different, all right, you came to, your existence in the United States is very different from a Puerto Rican existence. Puerto Ricans migrated to the United States because they were sold the idea that there were going to be certain kinds of jobs for them. And a lot of those Puerto Ricans ended up in sweatshops. And then people wanted to have opportunities. So a lot of Puerto Ricans weren't taught Spanish because parents were trying to protect us and try to see if we can get into the system without sounding different,
Okay.
which is a big mistake.
yeah,
You know, and then there were just parents who were, let's say, my father's from Puerto Rico, my mom's grew up in New York.
Yeah.
She was from El Barrio. And, you know, my mom grew up around a diverse group. Although she speaks Spanish, a lot of English was spoken all around the hood. So, and then, you know, my mom's raising 6 kids mostly by herself. She's not there teaching us Spanish or anything like that. She didn't have the resources or the time to do that. She had to work. So we were raised, when it comes to certain things, by the streets.
yeah,
I mean, my mom's is still my superhero, and I know that her resilience is one of my greatest influences, because if you knew the story of my mother, it was, shit, man, it's fucking crazy.
okay,
It's wild shit. And you know, we're talking about a whole other generation, and that group of parents went through a whole different experience of domestic violence and rape and alcoholism and drugs, and if there was a police came to settle something at your house, they would easily say, okay, just be quiet. You know, they wouldn't arrest the father or anything like that.
Right.
And I was not saying my father was abusive towards my mother. Stepfather was,
yeah,
but he never got locked up for it. The moment he stopped that was because one day I'm looking out the window and my father's hitting my mother in the street. And I'm like, fuck this. I'm like 15 years old. I ran downstairs, and he's bigger than me.
yeah,
And I just swung on him, and he stopped hitting my mother. I ran after.
yeah.
Because I was small. But I had to go defend my mom, and then he never came back again. Because he realized, oh, wow, all the boys are growing up now. I can't be this dude that's just beating up on this woman.
yeah.
You know? I mean, a lot of us grew up through, dealing with that situation.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I've never even told that story to anyone.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you shared it. Hopefully next time you come through, you share a
Yeah.
little bit more, because like I said, I wanted to get into it a little bit more. But at this point, you know, we come to the end. You guys, I want to apologize, honestly, because I wanted this to go on, but I have to respect the artist's time, you know, because let me tell you, there's times that guys tell me, we'll do a 2-hour interview, we'll do a 3-hour, and then when they show up, they'll say, I got 45 minutes.
Oh.
You know, and
Yeah, I didn't know how long your show was.
no, all good, my
Yeah.
bro, all good. But you know what? At this time, is there any type of shout outs you want to give, or if you want to re-promote what you're going to be
I
doing?
would, honestly, one thing, no matter what, we all grow up with differences. We have,
Yes.
street family. And I never want to come across as if I did everything alone.
Okay.
Whether I get along with former crew members or not, I think they should still be celebrated for their contributions. So a big shout out to everyone who has contributed to Rocksteady Crew. It's important for me to celebrate them, because if I don't, I'm shitting on our career as a people, or our history as a people. And that's more important to me than my personal feelings.
Okay. Last question. I have to sneak it in there. When it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
I don't care. I don't care, because people are going to remember you how they choose. That's the one thing that no one can control, because no matter what you do with your life, your legacy is going to be based on what everyone else says. I'm a dude. I've done good and bad in my life. I think I definitely do way more good now. Look, I do relief, disaster relief. Whether in Puerto Rico, Florida. We just did one here in Altadena, Pasadena, with myself, a group called HLX Plus, and Procter and Gamble. We just delivered $500,000 worth of goods to people who lost their homes. Right. We're trying to do that every other month for the next year to 2 years, so that it's part of the rebuild process. But there's a lot of our people who don't have the resources or don't have a home, and they need some of these things, whether it's toiletries, home cleaning supplies, sometimes furniture, sometimes air purifiers. And so, you know, people are going to choose what they want to look at and remember anyone for.
Right.
So I've never cared about that in my life, because, you know, when you know, we all put on our tombstones what we want, what we remembered, what we want to be remembered by. But that's our perspective.
Yeah.
We're not the ones remembering. We're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You know, so have fun, motherfucker. Do your thing. I don't give a fuck. But I will do good where I can do good.
Oh, good. Let's give him a hand clap for that one. You know what? I do want to say, first and foremost, that it was an honor and a pleasure, because these are the type of interviews that I like to tell my crew, my team. I don't care if anybody watches. These are the type of interviews that were for me, because I grew up watching you on the big screen and grew up watching you on TV. So to be able to sit across from you is truly an honor and a pleasure, man. So
honestly, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. And
yes, and I know you're a legend out here. Shit.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out to Thoro once again for making the connection. I also want to give a shout out. I know you got something to give me a second. I want to give a shout out to all the ROADIUM Radio fans, because I was gone like for 4 months, something like that. And they were telling me, come back, Tony, come back. Well, we're back. We got another special guest coming on Wednesday and another one on Sunday. This weekend I won't be on because I'll be out of town. Other than that, Alex, any super chats, anything like that? Please double check, because I don't want to.
Super chats, stupid chats, all kinds of shit.
Yes.
Okay.
There's always a stupid chat.
Yes.
Okay. Michael Rosas dropped $2. He said, "Dope intro. Welcome back, Tony."
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And El Hermano dropped $5. He said, "Show was tight. Shout out to BXNY. Long live Pun. Lord willing, we'll see more Latinos on the podcast from out east."
Awesome. Other than that, once again, much love and respect to everybody on my team. See you guys next Wednesday. Have a blessed weekend. And we are out of here. I know you guys are probably watching Laker game and decided whether to watch ROADIUM Radio or the Laker game. But
damn.
Yeah, that's what we were up against.
That's right. We'll get some numbers later.
All good. All right. We out of here. Thank you. Much love.
It's the
brother,